Hi everybody, hope you're doing really well. This is Tracy Brown, your trauma-informed nutrition therapist and tuning expert. So we're in our series, so it's going to be a 4-week series, and last week we talked about yield, slowing down. Slowing down as being like the linchpin to being able to just feel like there's something there for you. You know, feel like you're not just floating in space and there's nothing benevolent there for you, and like you don't really know hardly if you exist or not with your food. And that's one of the main reasons why people reach to dieting so much or go looping back in behaviors that don't serve them. It's because there's no yield. So we talked about that last week. So hopefully the videos, all the teaching prompts, all the journal prompts actually helped you kind of get more grounded on this topic. And so today we're going to talk about the next step in the action cycle, which is clarity, which is pretty obvious what that means. Like, oh, I know inside, right? I know inside. And obviously that has to do with identity issues of I know how much I need to eat to feel satisfied. I know what I need to eat to feel satisfied. I know that inside based on my signals, my preferences. I might even know where to go to the store to get these foods. We're not talking about the procurement yet of this stuff. That's next week. So today it's like clarity. Do I have clarity? And how do we even know how to get clarity? So we're going to talk about some of the breakdowns of eating clarity, and we're going to do some disclaimers. So this goes back to stuff that probably most of you who are watching now know, is that it's really, really, really incredibly normal when you first stop dieting to not have clarity. Nobody who works with people has any expectation that people, once they fall off the diet train, that they know how to eat from hunger and fullness. That is zero expectation. Nobody does that. We all know that we have to kind of relearn and rediscover those signals. But what we're going to talk about is the barriers to the signals here in a second. So some of the disclaimers are nobody really knows accurate hunger fullness signals when they first stop dieting or binge eating, or maybe the eating is not even binge eating, it's just kind of always deprivation. There's just a lot of places where we don't really know inside what we need or want. That's a clarity, insight barrier, right? We don't have insight as to what our signals are, what they're telling us, what they mean. That's been hampered by, for all kinds of reasons. Obviously, chronic dissociation or being insympathetic. It's been tampered and hampered with chronic, obviously, long-term food deprivation, deprivation of resources, not being able to yield to even just be slow enough to notice it, just not having practice. There's honestly hundreds of reasons why we don't have insight about our body's needs. We've been, again, so disconnected from them and disembodied from them that we don't really know how to feed ourselves unless somebody tells us what to do. And those are all the reasons. So again, there's no expectation that you should just stop dieting or stop binging and know how to do this. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of slowing down and being willing to at least be somewhat available to feedback, to be quiet enough to hear it, to listen. And what are some of the barriers? Well, we talked about that last week. Barriers to yield is basically I don't feel safe. So if we're starting off at not feeling safe, we're not going to be still enough to be able to know our hunger fullness, what would satisfy us, and to even accept it. So everybody who starts this process is going to be probably eating more than what they think they should, comparatively to what they are eating in diet culture, what they think they should based on diet culture thoughts, or there's just a really big deficit that has to be healed. And that can take, if we're consistent, that could take a year. If we're kind of on and off, like eating normatively, or trying to at least, or restricting again, or there's chaos, it could take much longer. And that's normal too. So if those are a lot of the different barriers, and some of the barriers, of course, are going to be just, the insecure, or not insecure, but disorganized attachment of getting needs met, of being told that your needs are too much, you're eating the wrong thing, you have the wrong body. Those are all things that disrupt it as well, and that's diet culture plus eating influences, whether it's medical care, caregivers, school, wherever we learn that we're doing it wrong, or which turns into I am wrong and I don't know what the right thing is to do. So what does the world tell me to do? And that's how we get disrupted, right? And we can have other disruptions too, of course. We can have sensory processing issues, medical issues. There's all kinds of reasons, but regardless, we have to start with yield to be able to get clarity and insight. Okay, so I want to say hello to everybody here live tonight. I know it's a different time of day, but my day just started totally different today than usual. So I wanted to be here with you all regardless. So thank you all for watching live. And Mary, you gave me a comment, so hi back at you. I'm glad you're here. So those are some of the barriers and some of the struggles and some of the suffering that cause this. How do we get back to insight? Well, first, you're going to want to use all the yield tools that we talked about last week, which is using your body as a resource, using sensory tools, eating with normative eating people. Hello, Emily. All kinds of ways we can do that. Just kind of being even pragmatic about it and being grounded enough to do what we need to do, even if we don't feel like it. So insight is really, again, a next step. And I want to help us, maybe this will hook up on our brains via our bodies, is that to know that you are something or somebody, you have to feel yourself separate. You have to unmerge from your environment. So you're not free floating through space, and you're also not fully connected to something that's got your back, but you could feel yourself, okay, I'm in this chair. We're in this chair and we can feel that, okay, the chair is here and it's holding me up. And I'm also, as I push through my feet, the chair's got me, but we're separate. And so I know that's really silly. It's a silly little exercise, but to be able to sit back and then push through, to feel like, wow, I'm in this environment with the chair and it feels better. Now I have some insight. That felt really good to push through my feet, and that pushed through my spine, kind of stand up straighter, and it helped me orient to my space a little more, and all the things that feel good and all the things that actually feel uncomfortable. So it makes me kind of let me actually spread out my legs a little more to be a little more comfortable. I could only do that when I yielded and I gave myself a little push to be in relationship with the environment, but not totally merged with it. So that's a somatic way you can play around with basically knowing where your body is in space. It's a proprioceptive tool. Another tool that, of course, is the bread and butter of everything that we do, right, is intuitive eating. And it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if you know how to do it accurately. And most people come to recovery with a perfectionistic mindset. So they think that if I just know those hunger, fullness descriptors, I will just know it. And when you don't, sometimes the wheels fall off because you're expecting yourself to have it all right. That's not how it's going to work. Is that we're going to push through our feet, seat, and back, and start to feel inside and doing what we need to do to get more and more and more and more and more and more and more feedback about those experiences. So the more you practice, the more you're going to get more information and insight as to what meal mixes work for you, how long they last, what food you like. And I know for some people, unless you're doing a lot of the interoceptive bottom-up trauma-informed work, it's really hard to do intuitive eating because there's just too much dysregulation, and not having a diet can feel just too disorganizing. And if you're not doing that kind of work along with it, it's going to be really hard to do on your own. And so it's why we always talk about I know that's the reason why a lot of people just kind of do the just eat the food kind of F it kind of method. And it totally works for people who they can just do it that fast. That's great. For some people, that feels just too big, too fast, too threatening to their systems, and they need to do a lot of safety and containment work, which is what this pushing is. I can feel where my edges are. I can feel I'm in an environment with this chair, and I'm choosing to push through with this chair so I can notice stuff, and it's not happening to me. That's why it's so important to slow down with your meal so you can take in, I'm choosing to eat this oatmeal, and I've added the additional fats and the proteins and the more butter on my toast with it because I want to have an experience of what me choosing to eat this food feels like inside versus it being forced upon me, or I'm dissociating from it. It's really important to be able to recognize in now time, I'm eating this toast, and not a really scared, dissociated, or whatever version of part of me that this is being done to me. This is why, we can do well and then collapse and do well and then collapse. It can't stick because we don't have a landing pad of connecting. Here's me, 2022. And here's this wounded part of me that's kind of freaking out that I'm eating too much food. but I need to get in relationship with now time and see what's on my plate is what I chose based on my now time. Maybe somebody's coaching me through this, that it's not too much food. Maybe I just ate that and I ate that amount of food on my plate and I recognized, wow, I'm hungry in 2 hours. So clearly I did not eat too much food. I only ate enough food for 2 hours, and on and on and on it goes. But you have to unblend and get insight, like what is like the threat versus what is just something new. Okay, so we're doing a lot of, honestly, individuation and a lot of ungluing from the part of us that doesn't have any, like the diet part of us doesn't have any insight. It's just it's just been told to follow rules. And then we've got a rebel that says like the rules are too restrictive and painful and demeaning. And I got to get out of here with that, so, and it's responding to like the starving, restrictive thoughts as well. Whether you're calorically starving or not, it does not matter. If you're telling yourself that what you ate is too much, you're bad, you did something wrong, you're going to want to escape that, and people choose different avenues to do that. So that's not insight or clarity, that's reaction, and we want to get out of reaction and into safety. So I hope a lot of this made sense to you, that insight only comes from being able to yield and feel ourselves separate from the threat and be able to also orient to what is there for us. That's how we get insight. And we do this over and over and over again, thousands of experiences of doing it with like maybe normative eaters, professionals who know what they're doing, even in a relationship with ourselves, just really trying to like notice, how does this serve me? Even if I'm not even sure how I feel about this, nothing bad is happening. Can I register that inside? That's building your interoceptive awareness. And it does take a lot of time. And there are going to be times when it feels like I don't have any clue. I think I'm just doing the best I can. And that's good enough too, because that will also give you some more information about like, oh, like as I started eating, then I started getting some clarity. Well, congratulations. I'm so glad that you took that risk to do that. So, all right. Does anybody have any questions here live about this topic and what's next? Or you're letting this kind of sit and marinate it a little bit, maybe take some notes. Again, like last week, I'll be putting up prompts of like how you're actually putting this information into practice. Like I tend to be somebody who goes deep on videos because I want people to take action and I want people to make progress, basically. So that's what they're for. And I know they're not the most popular videos because they're not like a quick little shot of feel good. And if you're still watching this at this point in the video, I know that you're probably pretty interested in like, I already know the intellectual stuff. I know what I need to do. I just need to understand my barriers or get started with something a little bit more practical and in-depth at the same time. So that's what these videos are for. If you felt like they were, I would really appreciate you sharing those along to your friends who are looking for some more meat with this recovery and intuitive eating journey. That's the easiest way to help people kind of, again, get more insight as well. So thank you all so very, very much. And if you enjoy this, let me know in some way. And I will see you in lots of prompts this week until probably the end of the week. And then next week, I will be doing the next stage, which is reaching to get these needs met that we're noticing that we have. And that's a big deal. Reach is a big place where a lot of our trying to be in relationship with others comes into play, not just with ourselves. And this is where a lot of it gets stuck. So thank you all so much for coming live. I really appreciate you. And I will see you in the next prompts and video. Bye for now.